What's going on, fellow A-plussers? It is I, your host, as always, Adam Perez, back once again with another review as we're going to get into Titans Season 3, Episode number 9, titled Souls, ladies and gentlemen. So thank you very much, guys, for certainly joining us, as always. Here to certainly give our thoughts and do a little bit of a deep dive in regards to the newest episode of Titans here this week. As always, guys, just simply remember, these are just simply my A-plus opinions, but at the end of the day, though, I want to know yours. What did you guys think about this particular episode? Let your thoughts be known in the live chat or the comment section box below, guys, and we'll definitely go ahead and get into your thoughts as we go ahead and discuss this particular week's episode. Rerum, what's up, Rerum? Appreciate you certainly coming through today. Thank you very much. But yeah, hopefully you guys will certainly let me know your thoughts on this week's episode, and we'll certainly go ahead and continue our discussion there for sure. I gotta say, man, I think this is as perfect timing as it comes. The idea that we finally get the opportunity to explore some characters that haven't even made appearances at all this season. I mean, the fact specifically in Rachel, aka Raven, along with Donna Troy coming back in this episode as well. So great the opportunity to kind of see what those two characters have certainly been up to during the meantime. Pretty fun for the most part to see Rachel over in Themyscira. I don't want to, it feels very polar opposites kind of thrusted together. And if anything, it definitely made me want to see how much Rachel has grown during the last time that we've seen her, especially being in a completely different environment from the Titans. You know what I mean? If anything, I was kind of curious if she's been able to control or tap into her abilities a little bit more. And they definitely teased that here in this episode. So a really interesting episode, to certainly say the least. Probably not my favorite of the season, but I did think that it did some pretty good things in regards to pushing the story forward, not only for Donna, but specifically that in Tim Drake, who Jay Lysurgo, I want to say his last name is, am I pronouncing that right? Jay Lysurgo. It might be something along those lines. He continues to impress me as Tim Drake. Like if I thought his fullest potential was in the previous episode, I definitely underestimated this guy. What he's able to tap into with just like the rawness of his emotions, really highlighting his passion to want to not only get back, but how fearful he was of just the position that he found himself in. I thought Jay really carried this episode in regards to just his emotions. So if there's any two characters that really stood out to me all episode long, it is currently that of Tim Drake along with Donna Troy, as we get to see them kind of in the midst of purgatory, I guess, like well, maybe not even purgatory, but just that world in between worlds, right? Not necessarily fully dead, but also not fully living either, right? It's that passageway, I'm assuming, to kind of be judged at the end of that train station or tunnel, and then they either take you to heaven or hell type of thing, you know what I mean? But some people are clearly reluctant to want to die in the first place, and we get to see that there is certainly an option in this episode for them to return to the life or the land of the living. So I thought that was pretty interesting for them to go ahead and tackle here in this episode. But if anything, I will say I think the idea of them at least separating some of these characters from the bigger story arc that we've had so far this season has been a really good move. I haven't felt at all in this season that they don't have a handle on the characters or don't necessarily know how to connect all the pieces to these characters. I feel like, if anything, how they've managed to tie Tim Drake's journey into Donna Troy's journey, including, I thought this is a perfect opportunity, if anything, to bring Hank back and pull Donna and Tim sort of into that bigger picture of what Red Hood is currently doing. I think it's been some pretty smart storytelling, to certainly say the least, in regards to bringing those characters together and actually having their storylines line up pretty perfectly with one another, instead of really trying to struggle and how do you juggle all these characters. Because the one thing that I have said is that when it comes to Titans, I usually feel the first half of the seasons are usually pretty solid, pretty focused. Once we usually get into the second half and we start introducing more characters, sometimes it can feel a little bit all over the place. But I do feel like the pacing, the decision for this episode to kind of take a break from the Red Hood storyline, but also give us a glimpse of the events of what's happening to Tim Drake after he's been shot, and his story kind of falling right into place with Hank and Donna's. I think it's been pretty smart in regards to how they've pulled it off. Now, whether or not you enjoyed the episode, this might have been one of the more lackluster episodes in that sense. I still got to give them credit at least for connecting the pieces, which I think has been one of Titan's biggest struggle over the past two seasons, as much as I've certainly enjoyed it. But I'm glad that we got to see ourselves a returning Donna Troy. I did kind of chuckle at the idea that Donna was pissed about the way that she wind up dying, like her emphasis to Hank about, I died at a carnival, Hank. Like, if that shows you just the lack of meaning maybe my life had, or things not necessarily going the way that I certainly thought, that's a really perfect example, because I felt the same exact way too. In a sense of, one, like, she's dying at a carnival, and she's dying at the fact that she died because of electricity. Like, I thought she was like a demigod, or like half human, half god. Like, the idea of being electrocuted just doesn't seem something fatal that would happen to Donna Troy. So I love the fact that at least she's pissed off about the way that she died, because me as a viewer, I feel the exact same way. So I definitely get the frustration that Donna is certainly feeling, to certainly say the least, wondering, the struggle of deciding whether or not to move forward or kind of go back, thinking that maybe her life has no meaning, or that the impact that she's had in this world may not have amounted to much. But I love the idea that you've got somebody like a Tim Drake who's desperate to kind of get back, and really kind of I don't want to say necessarily rewrite his history, but clearly somebody who's not pleased with the way that he certainly went out, and just simply wants a second chance. And I think, if anything, I think that kind of brings up that heroism in Donna Troy once again, that despite the fact that maybe she's kind of iffy about wanting to go back, the idea that she just wants to sort of push forward and live her life, if you will. I think there is a sense of heroism popping back up. Like, look, if Tim Drake wants to go, somebody's got to get him there. I might as well go back and have some sort of bigger impact if that's the case. So I feel like, out of all the characters Tim Drake could have been combined with in this episode, I don't necessarily think I was thinking Donna Troy in regards to, let's help this guy out. But hey, she is another member of the Titans. If there's anybody that can certainly bring him full circle and bring him back to reality, it definitely is Donna Troy. So I thought that was pretty cool. And honestly, I really love the way that Hank was utilized in here too. I did have a big problem with Hank from season two, but I felt very much like season three, they really got him back on track. So I was really bummed at the idea that they killed him off so early in this season. But the fact that they utilized him in here, again, perfect, gets the characters up to date. Everybody understanding what's going on with Jason Todd and Red Hood and the Scarecrow and things like that. And then also just the idea of, this was a perfect way for him to completely go out. Like, if we're never going to see this character again, or this actor, which I believe he's officially off the show as of right now, the decision, go ahead and reunite him with his brother Don, or Donnie, if you want to call him that, Dove, from the very first season of Titans, where we saw some flashback moments between them. I thought was a really great choice. I did not expect that whatsoever. But if there is anything for Hank to be happy about, of staying behind after wanting revenge and wanting to go back to his life, the fact of at least knowing that your brother's there, and you can continue to do the vigilante stuff even between this world between worlds, if you will, here. I thought it was brilliant. I thought it was really brilliant, and just really emotional and great storyline for Hank to kind of finish off with. So yeah, very proper ending and a send off to him, I personally thought of. Interesting characters from the ghouls. I thought the idea that, look, if you're resistant of going forward, if you escape the train, they would just hunt you down and send you to hell in the first place, sort of thing. And then the Rachel stuff I found pretty fascinating. Like, I do wish that they had explained to us how much time had passed since the death of Donna Troy, and Rachel and them certainly being there. Because for me, one, it was interesting to kind of see what the showrunner's vision of Themyscira certainly was. I've been so spoiled by what Patty Jenkins has sort of created over in the DCEU, to kind of see this. I don't want to say it was a letdown, but definitely a little bit more grounded version of Themyscira, which I certainly didn't mind. But for me, at least, one, visually, Rachel looks fantastic in her new costume design. The fact that they are giving her these lighter tones, right? In the comic books, she does go through her various iterations with all, all blue or all black. We've even seen Raven in all white. So the fact that they do go more lighter tones for her, I thought was perfect, especially with her learning over in Themyscira. But it is one of those things that it did make me chuckle. Like, and it's another reason why I wanted to know how much time she's been there, because despite being on Themyscira and going through all this training, Rachel is still Rachel. Like, they haven't turned her into an Amazonian warrior or anything like that. So when she sort of talks back to was it Linda or Lydia, I believe her name is, I just kind of chuckled because I just thought to myself, like, look, if you're trying to take the Detroit out of Rachel, it's not gonna happen. Like, she's always gonna have that Detroit sort of personality, that pushback sort of thing, right? So yeah, there's definitely no bowing and calling people by proper names, or no, it's none of that. It's the Detroit is still certainly in Rachel. So I definitely thought that was fun. But for me, I do feel like there are some life lessons that she clearly learned from this episode, despite her maybe having some friction with Lydia or Linda for name. I cannot remember her name, guys. I'm sorry. The head teacher over there at Themyscira. I do love that they were able to share some stories with one another. Clearly, Rachel certainly learned something trying to put back together that what did they call it? The Nevma, the stones or whatever that they were trying to go ahead and have her put back together. I clearly thought that was a great lesson for her to certainly learn, because once she actually completed it, she realizes, I think a bigger picture in regards to what's truly happening with Donna Troy, that there's a lot more going on than just her abilities being able to sort of bring somebody else back to life, if you will. Now, who's to say that Rachel didn't have any part to play in it and maybe guiding Donna Troy? Who certainly knows? We'll see if they explain any further. But I did find it fascinating. I am kind of curious how Donna goes from Themyscira though to wherever Bruce Wayne is at towards the very end. Like, for Tim Drake, he pops back up right back in his body, clearly at the hospital now in emergency. But Donna clearly just got up and left Themyscira. I don't know how she knew that something wrong was wrong with Bruce Wayne. If anything, that was a little bit of a question mark that I had. I wasn't sure if that was poor storytelling or editing, but I'm hoping that there is something that teaches us what pulls Donna Troy to Bruce Wayne in the first place. And if there is an honorable mention, it definitely has to be Bruce Wayne, honestly. The fact that this guy is signing off his last will and testament. I literally was like pausing the button on the document, trying to like read it line for line, trying to see who he's given his stuff to, but none of that stuff unfortunately was listed on there. But that's how much of a nerd I was. I paused it to try and see if I can read any other details out of it. But outside of that, the idea of trying to commit suicide, because trust me, homeboy planned on burning down his other mansion and just dying in the middle of it until Donna Troy winds up saving him. And I think this just continues to show you the inability of Bruce Wayne to handle grief and how he handles grief. Clearly beating himself up, clearly considering himself a failure. I mean, when you consider one of the Robins your own son and you truly mean it, the idea as a parent losing your child is unfathomable. You know what I mean? I have no idea what goes through those mindsets. Trust me, I do know somebody that wind up losing their child to suicide and had to sort of just continue on with their life. And so I'm sure there is an immense amount of sort of grief and guilt that Bruce Wayne certainly has on his shoulders. But the point of him actually even going to that point of committing suicide, I don't want to say it's out of character for Batman, because I just think if you look at how he dealt with the passing of his own parents and what that turned him into, it's not out of the realm of possibility, especially after everything an older Batman has sort of seen. You know what I mean? I'm sure he's seen a lot of death and destruction and people that he's loved taken out of his life. Who's to say that the Jason Todd thing isn't something that, the straw that broke the camel's back, as they say? You know what I mean? Real quick here from Nathan. He says, Tim Drake kept calling Donna Miss Troy. I thought we were getting Hank back for a second. I personally enjoyed this episode. I didn't mind it in regards to what it provided for us. As far as it being like my favorite episode, probably not. If anything, it's probably one of the weaker ones. Not to say that I didn't enjoy, because again, I enjoyed aspects of it. I love the Donna and the Tim Drake stuff. Getting to see Hank back was certainly great. The ghouls a little bit weak for me, if you will. And it was just like, for me, it was just great to see some people, and that's how it was for me. So I didn't mind it, but I can understand if maybe this was the weakest episode for some people out there. But I'm really glad that you enjoyed it, Nathan, for sure. I think, again, if anything, Tim Drake really stands out to me. I can't wait to see him back, because I felt really emotional for him, in a sense of like, look, he's always wanted to be a hero, right? This is the one thing that we talked about last week. The idea that you get your opportunity now. Granted, you're not training or ready for this kind of situation, but he dives into it regardless of what Nightwing certainly tells him how dangerous it is, right? He still does it. And I think the fact that the realization that once the memories start flooding back to him, and he realizes the moment of him being heroic ended with him literally running away, which is why he's been shot in the back. Granted, it's a cowardly ass move from Scarecrow. I mean, the idea of shooting anybody in the back while they're retreating is cowardly as fuck. So the fact that Tim Drake looks at that as he's sort of like, it's a failure upon himself, like that's not the way that he wants to go out and truly prove himself. I thought that was super impactful. And I think, if anything, him coming back to life is just going to give him even more vigor to want to become the next Robin and help them out, especially now that he's got the opportunity to meet additional Titans, right? Like Donna Troy will vouch for this kid now. Especially, and it's cool too that Donna Troy doesn't even give him pushback when he mentions the idea, like, yeah, and I know Dick Grayson is Nightwing and stuff, right? Like, she just keeps going on with it. So I'm sure once they get back into with the rest of the Titans, it wouldn't surprise me if we've got Donna Troy there that's gonna, give him the thumbs up of acceptance, and just the bravery he has to want to go back. And again, I think it felt very much like a mentorship that we're having between Wonder Girl and Tim Drake. And I do wonder if that's something that will continue on, maybe not necessarily, whether that be for the remainder of this season or next season. This was a combination of characters that I actually really enjoyed kind of seeing together. For some reason, when I saw Hank in this episode, though, I don't know why my head went straight to like Supernatural. Like, this guy is like one of the the demon hunters or something, right? Smooth ass car, great music. Homeboy's got 2 guns to just go ahead and shoot these demons and stuff. I was just thinking to myself, like, man, he's just like the missing brother from Supernatural that they need on the show. But yeah, overall, I enjoyed it for certainly what it was. And again, the idea of them at least doing a better job of handling other characters' stories and folding them into the overall arc and not feeling like it's all over the place. I thought they did a relatively great job. But listen, guys, I want to know your thoughts. What stood out to you in this particular episode, whether that be the Rachel stuff, the Donna stuff, the Hank stuff, or even the Tim Drake stuff? Again, shout out to Jay for an amazing performance in here. If I can just go on a Power Ranger tangent for a moment, I was I like to fan cast sometimes for upcoming movies, and I did one for the upcoming Power Ranger movie in a couple of years. And I got to tell you, man, I got my eye on Jay. I really do. I don't know what else Jay has been in, but he's really done an amazing job in the past 2 episodes, really able to carry himself on screen against some of these other really great actors like a Connor Leslie and a Brenton Thwaites. So to be able to see him bring it in front of his screen like that, I'm really going to keep an eye on his career and just truly hope for big things for him. Because the idea of, like, for me, I'm ready to get another Robin on screen. I truly am. And as much as I love Brenton Thwaites as Robin, I know he's moved on to bigger and better things for Nightwing. I'm really excited to see Tim Drake as a Robin on this show, especially with this genius level, his commitment to wanting to go ahead and give this a second chance, sort of thing. There is something special about Tim Drake that I cannot wait to see, and I'm keeping my fingers crossed. They haven't mentioned it this season. They have not mentioned the idea of, like, we're gonna see Tim Drake in a brand new Robin costume. But please, for the finale, can I please get something like that? I would absolutely love it. But again, I want to know what you guys think. Do you think this is a proper send off for Hank? Are you pumped to see Tim Drake and Donna Troy back? I'm so glad that they certainly have returned, and I can't wait to see how the rest of the Titans react to it as well, ladies and gentlemen. So, if anything, I'm almost expecting us to just jump right back into the mayhem and the chaos in next week's episode. But we'll see what they certainly have in store for us. But overall, really loving this season. This by far is like my favorite season of Titans, and we haven't even completed it yet. So we'll see how it wraps up. But listen, guys, at the end of the day, again, these are just my A+ opinions. I want to know yours. What did you guys think of episode number 9 of Titans? Let your thoughts be known in the live chat or the comment section box below, and we'll definitely go ahead and continue along our discussion before next week's episode. But until then, guys, do me a big favor. Take care of yourselves, take care of each other, and as always, keep it A+. I'll talk to you guys later. Bye. If you enjoy our content and want to be a part of helping our channel grow, become a patron supporter. We have affordable tiers to choose from that offer a variety of exclusive and early access content, from audio files for all of our shows for you to enjoy on the road, access to our Discord community, and plenty of reactions, reviews, character breakdowns, and more. Check us out at patreon.com/A+opinions. And as always, remember, like, subscribe, and hit that bell notification so anytime we drop a brand new video, you will be notified.